Hello, good evening. It's Dr. Jan with the mother. No, I am all just confused, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But it's Dr. Jan with the Relationship Matters TV show. See you in a minute. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm not sure what's up with my throat, so please excuse me. I'll probably be clearing my throat for the rest of the show. I'm not sure what it is. It's not hay fever, but it's just like a kind of a frog in my throat. I'm not coming down with anything, but every now and then, things happen. So, I was on my soapbox last week, and I'm going to get on my soapbox again. Why? Because I want you to be safe. COVID is rising. Just be safe. Just be careful when you're in a big crowd and, you packed in a small space with a lot of people. Just be careful. You can put a mask on. And if you don't want to wear a mask, then get your shots. Get vaccinated. I wear my mask when I'm in a public place and it's a lot of people. I know it's going to be crowded. And also because they recommend it for people who are over 65, I do get my vaccine. So I'm up with that. And I also got a flu shot. So flu season is coming too. I know you don't like needles, you don't like shots. I hate them. But I do want to be safe. Now, guess what? Guess who is the guest? It's a very special guest. It is I, Dr. Jan. And I wanted to talk with you today about something that's important, something that I never really thought about, but I thought it would be an interesting conversation to have with you. And that conversation is all about leadership and your personal relationships. Most of the time when we think about leadership, we think about it in like a professional setting, a business setting, like a company, excuse me, or community, or somewhere where you have to be, where I guess you would say it's a boss, so to speak. But we don't always think about, I would say, I didn't think about it at all, about how leadership is intertwined with our relationships. So today we're going to explore the connection and how we, you and I, apply leadership principles in our life. However, what we're going to do is start with the relationship that you have with yourself. Then we're going to talk about the relationships that you have with other people. And it all has to do with leadership. Now, leadership, I'm going to begin with the core of leadership, and that is the relationship you have with yourself. Because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anybody. And the first thing I would like to talk about is self awareness. If you're a leader in your family, wherever you are, even with yourself, you got to know who you are. Do you know who you are? If you really think about it, do you really know who you are? Do you know your strengths? Do you know your weaknesses? And it's usually kind of hard to hear or even to think about our weaknesses. Do you know what your triggers are? Do you know what really motivates you? When we talk about self-awareness, and that's the foundation of uh, emotional intelligence. And I know you probably have heard a lot about that here lately when people talk about emotional intelligence. Because if you don't have that, at least this part of it, you can be misguided. And you can, if you're in a leadership position, even with yourself, you can not be able to, you won't be able to guide yourself like you really, really should. And you have to know what your values are. So ask yourself, what are your values? I ask myself that too. What are my values? In other words, what drives you? Okay. So, first of all, let me give you a definition of values. Your values are your beliefs, your principles, your standards. Some values are honesty. Are you honest? Integrity, compassion, respect. All of this is it's like I would say like a moral compass to kind of lead you when you're leading yourself. And also, all of these really influence how you interact with other people, how you approach your relationships, how you approach life in general. So now, what are your, this is something I really thought about. What are your blind spots? Ah, are you aware of them? So now, what are blind spots? So the definition, they're areas where we lack self-awareness or we fail to recognize certain behavior patterns or perspectives in ourselves. In other words, what are your blind spots? So put it in the chat if you know what your blind spot is. It's kind of hard. A lot of times another person has to tell us what our blind spots are because most of us probably figure, oh, we don't have any blind spots, but we do. A major one that I have seen, and probably you too, and it may be one of your blind spots, is when we assume the other people think just like we think, you know. And when we see that they don't think like we think we are right and they're wrong. Because obviously, if I think it, it must be true, right? And another one that's kind of maybe insidious is blind spots can be like biases. And one of the main biases that we have sometimes is what? Stereotypes, where we look at certain people and we stereotype them. And I know you you and I both, we probably say, no, I take people and as individuals, but you have stereotypes. It can be racial, it can be economical, it can be gender based, and sometimes the stereotypes, usually, I would say, not all the time, they can be negative. Um, a stereotype that's negative, and I'm sure as women, we say this: if we're driving with a man, he won't, and you get lost, you won't ask for directions. That's a stereotype. Men don't like to ask for directions. That's a stereotype. Uh, so I'm not going to go into any of the others that are racial or cultural, but when you view certain people a certain way. I am guilty of that, and I try to work on it, and it's hard to work on, but as far as that, so that is one of the biases, one of the blind spots that a lot of us have. Oh, as an entrepreneur, a blind spot could be the imposter syndrome put on something else or someone else, meaning, oh, they're not going to buy this product. They don't have any money. And that's a bias. So maybe you're looking at certain people, certain cultural groups, certain genders. That's a bias. Another, as far as self awareness is concerned, are triggers. Now, what are triggers? Triggers are emotional responses or reactions that are prompted by specific situations, specific people, or experiences. And it's usually something that happened in the past. And it's usually an unresolved issue. And it's deeply held in here. What triggers you? It can be anything. It can be music. That can be a trigger. Oh, I hear certain kind of music or a certain musical song or even a certain musical instrument, and it triggers me. So the trigger can be positive, meaning that triggers that wonderful music is romantic and it triggers a loving emotional feeling in me. Or it can be a negative trigger where you hear something or you see someone even and you get this emotional negative response. You can get anger, you can get resentment because of something that happened in the past, and you get triggered by it. So, what sets you off, so to speak? It could be anything, but all that ties into self awareness. All that ties into the way that you lead yourself. Now, the second one is self compassion. We are often our harshest critics, We lose something. How could I have lost that? We misplaced something. Man, I am so stupid. Self-compassion. Now, if you're a leader, and you are, leadership demands that you treat yourself with the same level of compassion that you give to other people. You know, we often do this. We can see someone and they're very ill. We can see a child who's really ill, um, and we'll have compassion for that person. But when it comes to us, if we fail or we stumble, then we start with this negative self-talk. So we have to allow ourselves grace, grace. And if something happens, it's an experience. Learn from it. Don't it's as I was saying to someone recently who had no self-compassion for themselves. Oh, why am I in this situation again? Look at it as a challenge. What are you learning from it? So have self-compassion. So practice speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a close friend or a colleague facing a challenge. You wouldn't say to a close friend, "You are so stupid. Man, that was dumb that you did." You wouldn't do that. So think about it. What you say to yourself, would you say that to another person? Then there's also self discipline. Now, all of this has to do with leadership from here, your leadership with you. Now, self discipline and growth. Leadership is about pushing yourself to grow continually. It requires discipline in your actions, in your thoughts, and in your habits. Now, self discipline, leadership. I am now challenging myself as far as growth and self discipline is concerned. Because I have a sweet tooth. But what did I find out from my sweet tooth? Oh, my cholesterol was rising. What my A1C was rising. All kinds of things rising. Bad health because of my sugar addiction. And Maxine Walker says leaders must have confidentiality. Very, very true, Maxine. Very, very true. So that's what I'm trying to do. Self discipline as far as that's concerned. And so I've cut down tremendously. But it seems like every day I got to have a little sugar, a little something sweet. But the growth will be when I don't have to have it at all. So I'm leading myself. That's a part of leadership, and that's a part of growth. Now, many successful leaders dedicate time to learning, whether through books, courses, or mentorship. And that's another way of growth is learning, traveling. I love to travel, and I'm going to tell you about where I'm going before I end this episode. But think about it. How do you grow? Sometimes you grow by availing yourself of other relationships, of people who, like they say, how do you grow? Look at the people who you surround yourself with. And if they're stagnant and you stay with them, you're not allowing yourself to grow. Think about people who might be accomplishing things that you want to accomplish. It could be anything. It could be learning how to play an instrument. It can be learning a new language. That's growth. So think about it as far as you are concerned. How do you grow? How do you grow? Now, also, not only growing, but setting boundaries. How do you treat people? How do you want people to treat you? Also, managing stress. There is no growth, there is no self discipline when you are stressing about things. The thing is, you stress about something, what are you going to do about it? Rather than stressing about it, what are you going to do about it? And if it's something you can't change, stress, as they say, kills. Stress messes with your body. Let's say another way of growing. I don't know if a lot of you watch me on Facebook and watch Maxine and I. We are growing in that we are pushing ourselves because, in addition to working out 3 days a week, we decided to add 2 more days. And these 2 days are strictly geared towards climbing steps and I guess increasing our metabolism and our heart rates. So what are we doing? We're climbing some steps in Palos Heights, Illinois, and there are 129 steps. Our goal, our growth, is to be able to walk straight up all 129 without stopping. Now, so far, we can walk up 79 and we have to take a rest. But that, to me, and I'm sure to a lot of others, because I get a lot of feedback, is growth. It's self-discipline, it's growth, it's self-awareness. And guess what? Where the self-compassion comes in is that we have compassion for ourselves. We don't say, oh, this is horrible. We can't make it. We'll never make it. And we talk negative about it. We have positive self-talk. So now, when you understand, accept, and push yourself to grow, you become more confident, you become more grounded, and this inner leadership lays the foundation, the groundwork for effectively leading others. So remember, tonight is about leadership and personal relationships. So we started off with leadership for ourselves. How do we lead ourselves? Now, how do you lead yourself? Do you have self-awareness? Have you thought about it? Do you have self-compassion? Have you thought about that? Do you feel that for yourself? Are you continuously growing and increasing your self-confidence? So remember, if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. Not effectively. So now that we've talked about leading ourselves, let's go into how that relates to leading others. So let's look at this. Now, leading through relationships with others. So now that we've established leadership from here, from within, how does this relate to how we lead others? First of all, let's talk about trust and being authentic. Leadership and relationships thrive on trust. You cannot really lead anyone if you're not authentic. And if they can't trust you, because trust is built on being authentic, you cannot be phony. So you trust when you're trusting, when a person can trust you and you can trust others, show up as you, your true self, and be consistent. If you make promises, deliver on your promises. In other words, don't be one person here and then another person here and then another person here. And you see that a lot with people. Oh, they're with this crowd. They act this way. They talk this way. They're with this group or this organization. They're totally different. And they're over here in their real tight personal relationships. They're this person. And then you look at them and it's like, you know what? I don't know who you are. I don't know if I can trust you because I don't know if you're being authentic. So be open about your intentions and your values, which comes from self. Be consistent. Be someone who is real and consistent in your actions. Just be who you are. And I know some people, this is who they are. And if someone says something about this person or that person and you say, well, you know what, that's who they are. Not, oh, I don't know who they are. The second thing I'd like to talk about with leading to relationships with others is communication and listening. To be a good leader, you gotta be a strong communicator. But when we talk about communication, we're not talking about just talking. It's about listening deeply to others, not listening to respond. We do that. We all do that. I do that. When someone is speaking to you, sometimes you don't even let them finish before you're responding. So what you're doing is you're listening to respond and not really listening to them. So when you have a conversation with someone, practice active listening. Focus fully on the person that's speaking to you and don't think about how you're going to respond. And we do that. As an example, um, my knee really hurts today. Girl, well, you know, my knee was really hurting bad this morning. No, that meant that you were responding. You didn't even let the person finish. We do that all the time. That was just a little example. But when you really listen to a person, it gives you a deeper connection with that person. And it helps you to understand them better, understand their needs, understand their perspectives, where they're coming from, their thoughts. And guess what? When you're leading someone, you need to know these things. You need to know where they're coming from. So I have an example here about everybody knows who Steve Jobs was. And they said he was known for his powerful vision and communication skills. It says, but one thing he was less recognized for was his ability to listen closely during meetings. He didn't ask probing questions or anything. So just think about that. So when you're having a conversation with someone, do you respond? Do you answer before they've even finished? A lot of times that happens in conversations, and a person will say, well, you didn't let me finish because that's not what I was trying to say. And that causes misunderstandings. It's hard to lead when there's a lot of misunderstandings. The next one is empathy and emotional intelligence. When you're going to lead others, you have to have empathy. That's the same as having self-compassion. That's the ability, empathy really is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their emotions, their motivations, and their struggles. Put yourself, that's when you can really, really understand a person. When they're having a challenge, put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were in that same situation? So when a person is maybe talking with you about a challenge that they're having, before you answer, respond, or give feedback, wait a minute. Take a moment to consider how the other person might feel and how what you say and your actions will affect them on an emotional level. I think that if when we do that, we would not be so quick to criticize someone. In other words, let's say a person is having some financial difficulties and they're telling you, how bad they feel about it. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were in the same situation? And not respond by saying, well, you did the same, you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and that's why you're in that situation. Or you should have done this and you wouldn't have been in that situation. Okay? Put yourself in their shoes. Because during a time of crisis, a good leader displays empathy, they offer reassurance, they offer emotional support, and they help that person to navigate through those challenges. So remember that. And the fourth, mentorship. Part of being a leader is helping other people to grow. Think about people who have helped you to grow. And this is where mentorship comes in. It can be a formal type of thing or just informal. Uh, and I think mentoring really is talking, not giving advice, but guidance and support. So, have you mentored anyone lately? Or is there someone in your life that you can say they were a great mentor to me? And when you are mentoring someone, it can be a younger person, and sometimes it can even be an older person. Ask them what their goals are and ask them how you can support them. Don't assume. Remember earlier I said how sometimes a blind spot is how we think that people think the same way we think. Don't assume what they're thinking. Okay? Show them that you care about them. And so when you talk to them about their experiences and what they think about it, don't assume that they think a certain way. Now, let's see. How do we balance personal relationships and leadership roles? Well, we talked about boundaries. We talked about respect. Each relationship that we have has its own particular dynamics. People have different boundaries. Even you have boundaries. And guess what? Sometimes we don't tell people what our boundaries are. If you have a boundary, and this boundary that you have might trigger you, let the person know. Okay? Also, there's vulnerability and connection. So, real connections, as I said earlier, has to do with being true and being authentic and being vulnerable. It's hard for us sometimes to be vulnerable, especially in our personal relationships. But you can be vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you've got to just, as someone told me, take the zipper and unzip and just, oh, here, this is it. I'm totally vulnerable. But just if you make a mistake, own up to it. That's a sign of vulnerability. Vulnerability. Plus the fact when you're more vulnerable, you usually have a deeper connection with another person. Guess what? Gee, I'm sounding like who? A politician who says guess what? but but even if you're vulnerable with yourself, there's self-awareness. What are you owning up to your blind spots? Okay. Also, vulnerability when you're struggling with something, let people know. Let someone who you trust know. A lot of times, a lot of stress comes from not sharing when we're having a struggle and trying to keep it in. But actually, because we are thinking that, oh, I'm going to appear weak. But actually, vulnerability is a strength, and it strengthens relationship because it shows people that you're human just like they are. Now, what's another part? Support and encouragement. Whether you're in the role of a leader or you're in the role of a friend, supporting and encouraging others is vital. It's important. Leadership is not about control. It's not about power. It's about helping other people to reach their potential, to help them to reach their goal. That's what a good leader is. That's what a good leader is to others. And that's what a good leader is to yourself. So make it a habit to acknowledge your own efforts and your own accomplishments and for the people who are around you. Even if they're around you, they're personal friends or even professionally, acknowledge them. Acknowledge everybody likes to hear, oh, you did a good job. Or, oh, I really like the way you're thinking about this. Oh, it can be, oh, I really like the way you dress. Oh, I really love your smile. That's encouragement. And it's also support. Because you never know how that person is feeling. Or as someone said, you never know how far a person has come to get to where they are. Okay? So, in closing, let's talk about leadership. I want you to reflect on your own inner leadership. So, take time, if you got time, this weekend, next week, do an assessment of how well you're leading yourself. Are you nurturing your self awareness? Are you practicing self compassion? And are you pushing yourself to grow? Also, strengthen your relationships with others. So, focus on building trust by being authentic and communicating with empathy and supporting another person's growth. And create balance. You know, so I want you to remember that leadership and personal relationships require balance. Set boundaries, be vulnerable when it's appropriate, and encourage those around you. Because ultimately, Great leaders are not just successful at work, they are successful in life. They enrich themselves, they enrich their own and other people's experiences, and they build strong, healthy relationships. So, yes, Maxine, good listening takes skills. It really does. As a matter of fact, what they say is that listening is the most important factor in communicating. And yeah, it does take, because a lot of times we get distracted about a lot of things. Someone could be speaking to us. We're supposed to be listening. We start thinking, okay, what am I going to cook for dinner? Or, I think I better go to the store. Or, what am I going to put on tomorrow? Listening is difficult, and it is a skill that requires a lot of attention. And Sandy, great leaders are open, yes, honest, yes, and ethical. Great leaders connect naturally. That's very, very true. So, Maxine and Sandy, do you consider yourselves great leaders? I know both of you. And yes, I feel that you are good leaders as far as yourself and good leaders as far as other people. So, uh, oh, yes. So now, what I'm going to tell you is that I will be traveling for the next, I would say, 3 weeks. I am going on vacation and I am going to Africa. Hence the braids. I'm going to Africa and I'm going to Senegal first. And I think we're spending 4 days in Senegal. No, 5 days, 4 or 5 days in Senegal. And then 4 or 5 days in Ghana. We're going to do a lot of touring with the museums, and we're going to go to both of the gates. I call them the gates to hell, but the gates of no return in both Ghana and Senegal, where the slaves ships were getting the slaves. So we're going to go to both of those places, and I understand that uh, there that is an experience, and that there's a feeling that comes over you. I had even read somewhere that the spirits of some of those slaves are still in those places. Also, I, of course, my ancestors are from Africa. And what I've been told, and I don't want to hear anything else about, no, you're not going to feel that, because I am. I've been told that when we plant our feet on the ground in Africa, there is a feeling that comes over us. And people tell me all kinds of things. Feels like you've come home. Some people just can't describe the feeling, but I want the feeling. Therefore, for the next 2 weeks, definitely, there will be encores. I will not be live. What I'm going to do is choose the episodes that I have seen have the most viewers from the internet and from YouTube where they recorded, and from other recordings. But if you have a particular episode that you would like for me to play, an encore, something that you would really like to see, all what I want you to do is, I'm going to put it up here, is to email me at, let me put it on here. Where is it? Email me here at, here it is. Email me at relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com. So what you can do is, if you're not sure of a particular episode or the name of the episode, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Janice Fortman. And if you go to live, you can see all of the previous episodes. And if there's a particular one that you would like me to do an encore, just email me at relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com. So remember, for the next 2 weeks, I will be in Africa, and there will be recordings. On the third week, which will be the first Thursday in December, I will still be traveling. No, I'm sorry, December. Oh, no, September. I will still be traveling. I will be in LA at a conference. However, what I'm planning to do is do an episode on location, but I will let you know about that. So I'm happy, very, very happy to see all of you this evening. I appreciate you very much. And, who do I miss? Maxine, who am I missing this evening? And I should have had it on here. I will show next time. She is from Scotland, and she's usually here, but she received an award, and I'm going to put it on. I'm going to have it the next time that she's here, so we can see the award that she received in Scotland. But again, I want to play this. Yes. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you, my viewers. I just love you. I am just so very, 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 very thankful that you're watching my show. I really appreciate you. And I'm celebrating you because you do make a difference. So thank you. Maxine tells me have a great ship. Yes, Maxine, you knew who was missing. Margaret is missing this evening, all the way from Scotland. So I'll have to find out, where is Margaret this evening? But anyway, I hope that all of you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. And yes, I was very happy to see all of you. Now, what I do want to remind you of is that I am a relationship communications coach, hence Relationship Matters TV. I also have another show called the Mother-Daughter Relationship Show. And with this show, it's on the Win Win Women TV network, where I give tips and tools on how to navigate the challenges in the adult daughter aging mother relationship. So I'd like to show you something quickly. The mother-daughter relationship is a journey. It's not a destination. relationship. The mother-daughter relationship is a journey. You can reach me at 1-877-667-7325 or email me at drjan@drjanicefortman.com. And that is all for this evening. I hope everyone's having a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I will see you again in about 3 weeks. So watch my encores. And again, if there is a particular episode that you like to see, just go to relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com and I will be very, very happy to play that episode for you. All righty. Take care. Have a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.